So for the first part of the video, I wanted to discuss white privilege and the reading that we did about that. And some of the main things that started to come up as I thought about, my everyday life. When I walk into a coffee shop, everybody there is white like I am. Everybody orders in a certain way. There's almost like a hidden language to going to a coffee shop that seems to be very based on being ingrained in a culture. If I could see if someone coming from a Hispanic background walked into the coffee shop, they might not know what to do, what to order, or understand what the order board said. So that was something that really hit me, is that I hadn't thought about how much of a privilege that is. Another one that really stuck out to me was about a car. So I got in a car wreck about 2 months ago, but I was able to, I knew how to go through all these channels. So if someone ran into me, I knew to call my insurance, to wait on them to file for their insurance. I knew once I got an insurance check, I could go to a bank and I could talk about getting a loan for a new car in addition to whatever damages I received. And I thought about that and how much all of that was based on the way that I'd grown up, and it was almost ingrained that I knew how to handle that situation. I could see that being a very different situation for people who were from either a Hispanic background or people that were just not in a position of power, like someone who was from lower financial means wouldn't be able to go into the bank or wouldn't know how to go into a bank and try to apply for a loan, nor would they probably receive a loan if they hadn't been building credit, which I have been, but that's only because of my parents' situation that I was able to do that. Another sort of similar situation is with college loans. So I decided to go back to get my master's degree, and because I'm from a white middle class background, I feel comfortable going in and getting loans for college. I feel comfortable abandoning my job in a coffee shop and taking on a less consistent job because I'm okay with building debt for a long-term goal. And I could see that a lot of people, if you're, and I know this happened with a lot of people I worked with. Actually, the majority of the people I worked with at the coffee shop from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, actually most of the people I worked with were black, and a surprising amount were also homosexual. So we had a very diverse group of people, but I know that a lot of them wanted to do other things but felt that they couldn't because they didn't have the flexibility. When I was leaving, I was talking about how I was going to be taking out loans to help myself pay for it. That I got the sense that wasn't really an option for some people. And that's something I hadn't thought about. I thought that was just the way things are. But that's part of growing up in a culture where my parents expected me to go to college. So it wasn't a question. I was going to college. It was just a question of where I was going to go to college. So I think that's another thing that really is part of that culture of the middle class European American culture that I really want to be aware of when I go into the classroom and know that not all my students come from that background, and just be aware that the whole classroom experience may be totally out of someone's comfort zone, and to account for that when designing lessons and even when interacting with students. I just want to make sure that I'm always conscious of the culture of white privilege that pervades our society. I just have about 2 or 3 minutes to address the remaining articles I wanted to talk about. One of the first ones was the article about the angry black male, and I just wanted to talk about how I feel like that one of the problems with that article was that it kind of focused on race a little bit too much, I think, because in my opinion, and I think that I found that some of our classmates agree as well, and talking to some of my other friends, that's more of a male problem. Trying to find your place as a male when you're coming of age, going through puberty, you have testosterone running through your system, and you've got to figure out a way to turn what feels like and sometimes manifests as anger and resentment and aggression, and you have to figure out a way that you're going to fit into a society that doesn't value those kinds of things. And I experienced that a lot when I was in middle school. And the typical way I think that young men lash out is either through violence or apathy. And I think that it's probably more likely apathy because that's not as aggressive. And I think that a dip in grades from 8th to 10th grade is common for all men. So that was, I enjoyed the article, but I did think that it's more of a male problem and not a young black male problem. And the other article I want to talk about was the Larrabee article, and that one really struck me because I feel like I've been guilty of that as a younger man, of throwing around gay slurs like they were acceptable, and they aren't. And going into the teaching profession, I need to be much more aware of that and jump on top of it more quickly when other students throw it around, because that has become part of the vernacular to call a kid gay or things like that when you mean to mean something negative. And it really struck me in the article that it said that lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender youth movements that happen in a school are almost always on a grassroots level, and they start with one teacher. And I hope that if I end up in a school that doesn't have the kind of support structure for lesbian, gay youth that should be there, that I want to take a leadership role and try to get something started so that we can raise awareness about how what we say and what we do and what we value as a society should be inclusive of everybody, and that we shouldn't slant our worldview to exclude lesbian and gay youth. So that article really meant a lot to me, because the older I get, the more I find a connection to lesbian and gay individuals. My girlfriend was raised by, well, primarily by her grandmother, but also by her two uncles, Mark and Chucky, and she's someone that is a wonderful person who came out of that kind of relationship. And I think that that's the main attack on lesbian and gay youth, is that there's not a good family value there. And I want to do whatever I can to dispel those myths. And I think it starts in the middle schools and the high schools, and creating more of a culture that's accepting of people of diverse backgrounds, including sexuality.